Hello and welcome to the Mind Garden. Today we're going to be exploring our relationship with dopamine, the feel-good chemical that's released within our brain. And we all can experience, we've all had experiences of a dopamine-fueled event. And I'll just explain a couple of them. For me, I'll tell you something, just literally eating a cake. If oh my god, chocolate bars, absolutely love it. However, I'm going to talk to you about something a little bit more deeper. My relationship with marijuana. I've been smoking since I was 13 years old. That's a long time, and it's a habit, and it's a routine habit. We're going to go into routines and habits in another podcast. Right now, it's the craving dopamine because when I smoke, dopamine is released. I feel good. However, now it's got to the point where it's like smoking air, but I've done it out of routine. However, there's this strange numbness that is there. And they talk about dopamine saturation. And I think personally, somebody with ADHD, we are dopamine hunters. We're dopamine fiends. And this is important to understand and observe yourself when you are dopamine hunting, because we crave, and it's important to cultivate self-awareness to be able to transcend beyond the slavery of the dopamine chase. So, awareness of breathing. I found in the last lecture I was talking about awareness of breathing. We're going to go into more detail in the hour-long podcast, half an hour podcast, but right now, awareness of breathing. And that's helped me to slow moments down, to be able to observe myself on the dopamine chase. And it's so important to understand, because if we don't see ourselves and our relationship with dopamine, we will always be a slave to dopamine. And I go through my day a lot of the time and I feel numb. I feel numb. And it's because I need another dopamine hit. I need another dopamine hit. And I think for me, doing this podcast is important. I want to talk to other people about their dopamine hit, their relationship with dopamine. It's so important, because you see, without the ability to observe ourselves, this is how, how do we cultivate awareness? To observe with no judgment. I'm going to keep repeating that in multiple episodes, because each episode is cultivating awareness for a certain phenomena. Today's phenomena is our relationship with dopamine, and how often do we make decisions when we are dopamine fueled rather than in a in a without dopamine. Say, for instance, you want to call it the normative value and your normative state. You'd make a decision in a lot more clearer than you would in a dopamine fueled state. Now, compare it to an Instagram filter. Now, you take a you take a photograph of me, and I look okay. However, you put a filter on me, I look 20 years younger, and I look like I'm somewhere else on another planet almost. And that filter is quite powerful, and so is dopamine. When we chase dopamine, when we engage with dopamine, when we enjoy dopamine, there's a certain filter come on. The world looks a little bit more rosy. We make decisions that sometimes could affect us in the long term. Bad decisions, generally, I'm talking about right now when we're dopamine fueled, because this is where it's important to cultivate emotional intelligence, organized thinking. But first and foremost, we must understand when we've been hijacked. So awareness of breathing, that's the thing I'm going to use most. The technique is awareness of breathing. Just get yourself breathing for 30 seconds and bring yourself back to this phenomena and do a self-check. Self-check is so important. We're here at Central Birmingham Cricket Academy. I'm a coach, and the quickest way I get kids to learn is by doing a self-check. Check yourself. You already know what to do. I shouldn't be telling you what to do. So a self-check. Today's self-check will be seeing when you're having that good feeling. What's been fueled from? Do you chase it? Do you crave it? What happens if you don't have it? And this is quite important. So also observe when you're craving something. What are you craving? Why are you craving for it? And this is what I'm having to do now, because I have many cravings, and I've realized that by doing these podcasts, I'm becoming more self-aware. And by becoming self-aware, I feel more at peace with myself. I feel like I'm chasing less dopamine in life's casino. So I'm going to end it on that note. The Mindful Athlete, absolute awesome read. Absolute awesome read, or listen to it, whichever type of learner you are. I want to hear about your relationship with dopamine. Yeah, dopamine is a chemical in the brain. Let me know about it. Let me know if you've ever had dopamine saturation. A lot of the time when people have this numbness, it generally comes after a really big high, and there's a ceiling to dopamine. You can't just keep on going higher and higher and higher. You'll float off into outer space, and I don't think that's happened to any of our species without the need of rocket power. However, so dopamine saturation. Have you suffered with that too? Do you crave it? Do you know? Are you okay with it? And one more thing. The mystics used to talk about it: indulgence with awareness. In the book of Tantra, they talk about not suppressing yourself. If you suppress yourself and just not eat chocolate bars forever, one day you're just going to go to Charlie in the chocolate factory and eat the chocolate factory dry. I could use other examples, but now you imagine you could suppress many things within ourselves. You could suppress sexuality. You can suppress anger. Suppressing anger, you've seen cases of it where people have suppressed anger for so long, and then all of a sudden they've gone and carried out some type of massacre, because there's a buildup of these emotions. So it's important to understand our relationship with dopamine, our relationship with becoming more self aware, our relationship with suffering, because a lot of the time we chase the dopamine because we're suffering, and they are like, it's a paradoxical situation. It's a catch 22. There is no winner. There's only freeing yourself of chasing. Yeah. So I've a little bit of I'm trying to tie things together with the dopamine. It's a massive area of interest in mind body connection in the mindfulness world. So we're going to definitely be revisiting it. But let me know what your relationship is like with dopamine. So thank you for your time. Please please share. This is a free educational asset. And until the next time, lifelong learning, peace, love, and respect.